Hi, I'm here to talk about the Flying Dutchman from the SpongeBob SquarePants franchise. And I think that the Flying Dutchman is a really cool character, and the Flying Dutchman is a bit more intimidating than a lot of SpongeBob antagonists. And he's still able to be a comedic, fun character, though. But I do understand if he could seem a little bit too scary for SpongeBob sometimes, but I think the Flying Dutchman works very well as a recurring antagonist where I feel like the Flying Dutchman doesn't show up that often. I feel like he kind of shows up about as often as Merry Man and Barnacle Boy did in a lot of the early seasons of SpongeBob. I feel like he's a character that shows up once in a while, and I think that's good for him, where it doesn't feel like he's overused, but when he does appear in episodes, he doesn't feel like a throwaway character, a character that's just there for a quick little thing isn't that important. It feels like when Flying Dutchman is in an episode, it feels like a big deal. And I think he has been used very well in episodes that he's appeared in, has been a very consistently solid character. I feel like he's been a character that isn't necessarily one of the big characters that I first think of when I think of SpongeBob characters, but when I do think of him, I think really good, solid character. And I think the Flying Dutchman works well as a comedic antagonist and is able to provide some conflicts and can be somebody that can actually scare a lot of the characters, which I feel like Plankton often doesn't do, which I think is fine for the type of villain that Plankton is, for the type of show that SpongeBob is. But sometimes it is fun to have an antagonist that can actually have a very intimidating presence, and I feel like that's what the Flying Dutchman is able to provide. And I think the Flying Dutchman has been one of the more consistently cool antagonists in that sense, not to the levels of Man Ray, but still a very good antagonist in the SpongeBob franchise. And I think that he's been a really good, solid, consistent supporting character. And I think that his episodes are very good. It's hard to think of a bad one. I think some are better than others, but it's hard to think of one that I dislike. So, overall, I think that the Flying Dutchman is a character that works very well in the SpongeBob SquarePants franchise and adds a good amount of intimidating presence and humor.